AOC erupts on Marjorie Taylor Greene in Congress, and the room went silent.
Well, I certainly hope we do open as many prisons as possible to round up as many illegal aliens that have invaded our country and those that are breaking our laws, killing our citizens, women and children, and causing complete havoc across our great land. I support the Laken Riley Act, and I support the Laken Riley Act because Laken Riley should be alive today. And she would be alive today if it hadn't been for the Democrats and the Biden administration that ripped our border open and allowed this illegal alien monster to come into our country. And then in the state of New York, when this monster was arrested for committing crimes, the Democrat state of New York let him go. And that's how he came down to Georgia and murdered our Laken Riley. This is a bill that cannot get passed enough, and I'm so thankful that the American people overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump so that we can sign this bill into law, and it can't happen fast enough. Thank God. But listening to my colleagues, the Democrats on the other side of the aisle, complain and whine and defend illegal aliens that break the law the minute they cross our border is pathetic. The American people are so sick and tired of it. They cannot believe what our country has gone through. And it is enough. It is absolutely enough. But they will go on and on to defend anyone that is not American because of their America Last policies. You talk about tax dollars used. Our tax dollars should be used defending Americans. And you want to talk about spending a lot of money? Spending a lot of money should happen for American causes, American purposes, and American security. Laken Riley is a young woman who should be living her American dream, and she had the right to do it. But people that come across our border illegally are not Americans, and they do not have rights here. And that is exactly why anytime they break a law, anytime they cross into our country, they should be rounded up and shipped out as fast as possible. And if we need to build more prisons, then we'll.
Mr. Speaker, I want the American people to know with eyes wide open what is inside this bill. Because we stand here just 2 days after President Trump gave unconditional pardons to violent criminals who attacked our nation's capital on January 6th. And these are the people who want you to believe, who want us to believe that they're trying to, quote unquote, keep criminals off the streets. When they are opening the floodgates. I want the American people to know what is in this bill. Because in the guise and in the wake of tragedy, we are seeing a fundamental erosion of our civil rights. In this bill, if a person is so much as accused of a crime, if someone wants to point a finger and accuse someone of shoplifting, they will be rounded up and put into a private detention camp and sent out for deportation without a day in court, without a moment to assert their right and without a moment to assert the privilege of innocent until proven guilty. Without being found guilty of a crime, they will be rounded up. That is what is inside this bill, a fundamental suspension of a core American value. And that is why I rise to oppose it. If you're a dreamer, all someone has to do is point a finger and you will be rounded up. And we have seen moments like these happen before. In the Patriot Act, in the wake of the travesty of 9/11, a fundamental suspension of American civil liberties. That is what we are seeing here today. Mr. Speaker, you may wonder why so many of our friends across the aisle who care so deeply about the rule of law happen to be so desperate to pass this bill after they are unleashing people who attacked police officers here on this Capitol into roaming our streets, who are publicly saying now they want to get a gun. Suddenly, these folks care about public safety? I don't think so. Look no further than the price tag of this bill, $83 billion. They know that it can't be paid for. They know that the capacity is not there. And you know what will be there? Private prison companies are going to get flooded with money, who give this money, no doubt. I want folks at home to look. Look at what members of Congress are invested in private prison companies who receive this kind of money, and look at the votes on this bill. It is atrocious that people are lining their pockets with private prison profits in the name of a horrific tragedy and the victim of a crime. It is shameful. It is absolutely shameful. And Mr. Speaker, I'll conclude with this. In a few months, there are members of Congress who voted for this bill who are going to pretend they didn't know about all the bad things that are going to happen because of it. So when a private prison camp opens in your town, when a dreamer...
Time has expired.
I yield the gentlelady an additional 30 seconds.
So when a private prison camp opens in your town and they say, we didn't know this was going to happen, know that they did, and they voted for it. When a dreamer is disappeared from your classroom, when the President of the United States destroys what is left of the Constitution as he's announced in this attack on birthright citizenship, they will all say, we didn't know this was coming. And I want the American people to know that they did. This vote represents it. And with that, I yield back. Thank you very much.
What made this moment so striking wasn't just the disagreement. Congress disagrees all the time. What made this moment stand out was how clearly it exposed two completely different visions of what America is supposed to be. On one side, you have leaders like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who believe the path forward is more detention, more prisons, more aggressive enforcement, and they see that as the only realistic response to crime and immigration. But on the other side, you have voices like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez warning that when fear becomes the foundation of policy, the Constitution is often the first casualty. And that warning matters. Because history shows that moments like this, moments when the country is angry, grieving, or afraid, are exactly when governments expand their power the fastest. We saw it after the September 11 attacks, when Congress rushed through the USA Patriot Act, granting sweeping surveillance authority that many Americans later realized went far beyond what they expected. At the time, politicians insisted those powers were necessary. Temporary. Targeted. But years later, Americans learned just how wide those authorities had actually become. That's the shadow hanging over this debate. Because AOC's warning wasn't just about immigration. It was about precedent. Once a government creates a system where people can be detained based on accusations rather than convictions, that system doesn't stay neatly contained. It grows. It expands. It gets used in ways the public never originally imagined. And the people caught in that system rarely have the political power to fight back. Another point that made AOC's speech so powerful was her prediction about what comes next. She said that months from now, when the consequences of this bill begin to appear, some of the very politicians voting for it today will claim they had no idea what it would lead to. They'll say the law was misunderstood. They'll say nobody anticipated the scale of detention. They'll say it was meant to target only the worst of the worst. But legislative records don't forget. Votes are permanent. And if this bill leads to the expansion of private detention facilities across the country, the record will show exactly who supported it. That's why AOC urged Americans to pay attention now, not later. Because by the time detention centers are built, by the time families are separated, by the time communities start noticing people disappearing into the immigration system, the political momentum behind the policy may already be impossible to reverse. And then there's the money. The $83 billion price tag she mentioned isn't just a number. It represents an enormous expansion of the detention infrastructure in the United States. New facilities, new contracts, new profits, and if even a fraction of that money flows into private prison corporations, it raises uncomfortable questions about incentives. Because when incarceration becomes profitable, the system begins to reward policies that create more detainees. That's the kind of cycle critics say America has already seen in the broader prison system. And they fear immigration detention could follow the same path. But beyond the politics, beyond the budgets, beyond the partisan shouting matches on the House floor, there's a deeper question at the center of this entire debate. What does justice actually mean in America? Is justice about detaining people as quickly as possible in the name of security? Or is justice about making sure that every person, regardless of their immigration status, has access to due process and a fair hearing? That tension between security and liberty has shaped American politics for generations. And every generation has to decide where the balance should fall. In this moment, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is arguing that the balance is tipping dangerously toward unchecked power. Meanwhile, Marjorie Taylor Greene and many Republicans believe the balance has already tipped too far in the opposite direction, toward policies they say have allowed dangerous individuals to slip through the cracks. Those two visions collided on the House floor. And the clash was raw, emotional, and deeply revealing. Because at the end of the day, this isn't just a policy fight. It's a fight over the identity of the country itself. And if the intensity of this exchange is any indication, that fight is only going to get louder in the months ahead. So now I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives into the biggest political showdowns happening in Congress right now, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who wants to understand what's really happening behind the speeches.